Achieving ethical maturity is a lifelong process. As we pay attention both to our actions and our reactions for acting, using different ethical lenses helps us make better decisions and live with integrity. I'm Catherine Baird, the founder and CEO of Ethics Game, a company that provides learning tools for people who want to explore ethics and ethical decision-making. When people think about ethics, they think about action, just doing the right thing. Today, we're going to talk about the flip side of action, reflection, a process necessary for ethical wholeness, for integrity. As we are being reflective, either before making an ethical decision or after the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, pausing to reflect can help us become ethically mature. As we evaluate a potential path forward, we notice our motives, the amount of risk we are willing to take, and whether we are at peace or still unsettled with our decision. After taking action, we then reflect on the results. Did we balance the values and tension? Were we able to create the greatest good for the most people through our acts? This cycle of action and reflection can help us achieve personal integrity, where our actions match our values and our lives have meaning and purpose. As we reflect, we continue widening our perspective to see what impact our choices have on others. First, we begin with ourselves. Did we have good and honorable intentions, or were we acting from anger and seeking retribution, wishing harm on others? Did we moderate our desires so we weren't being petty, greedy, or selfish? As we consider others for whom we are responsible or those with whom we live and work, did we act in a way that showed care and respect for them? Did the decision and the results help both individuals and the group as a whole thrive? And then, did our decisions create a stronger community? Were we fair? Did we think about those without power or resources? Are the institutions, our families, social organizations, places of worship, businesses stronger because of our choices? And finally, did our actions support the system as a whole? If those who work in business lie, cheat, and steal, the social and economic systems we take for granted can fail. Enron is a case study of people who didn't respect the company or the economic system in which they worked. The leadership was so focused on themselves that they didn't moderate their greed and ambition. As the house of cards came down, everyone, including them, was hurt by their unethical business decisions. As we move into a global economy, sustainability is not just a feel-good concept. Unless we all consider how our actions affect the larger community, the systems might fail. And so we pay attention, not just to knowing our own core values and commitments, but also finding out more about our shadow side. We take time to consider where we and those with whom we work can be tempted into unethical behavior. Let's return to the case of the social not working. As before, for this thought exercise, you're going to imagine that you are a manager working in the marketing department of a company. You've hired Sky to develop your social media presence. At orientation, she learned that she can access personal social media during working hours within reasonable limits. After 60 days, she is meeting her goals and performing well. However, you have confirmed that she spends about 3 hours a day on her personal social media site, everything from Facebook to personal tweets. Sky has also created an anonymous blog that is critical of you and the company. This case presents clear values and tensions. On one hand, we expect people to follow the rules. On the other, we want to give employees some flexibility as they exercise their judgment. We also want to treat Sky like an adult who can manage her own time without treating her differently from everyone else. As you followed a decision process that helped you clarify the values and principles of the 4 ethical lenses, you came up with an action plan that included values from all ethical perspectives. You would call a meeting with Sky, review what you know about her work patterns, and remind her of the policy. You would explain the reasons for the policy, how both individuals and the community are stronger if everyone carries their own weight. You would then ask her what she thought was going on. What suggestions would she have for moving forward? You would find out if she decided whether or not she was a fit. You would give her an opportunity to resign. If she wanted to stay, you'd give her a chance to change. You would then make sure that you have a performance plan that would allow you to coach her towards success. The plan would include an increasing workload to challenge her and help her develop her skills. And she would be reminded that everyone has to be treated with respect, including her employer and her co-workers. You would remind her that to be fair, you have to treat everyone the same and enforce the rules for all. And finally, you would communicate with her frequently. Notice how this plan of action includes values from each of the 4 ethical perspectives, values that might have been overlooked had you not worked through the questions for each perspective that guided you towards the best answer. Now that you've got the action plan, you have one more step before you act. What will Skye's response be? At this point, you can anticipate her response by considering her ethical perspective. After you determine her ethical lens and expected blind spot, you'll be ready to meet with her and listen for ethical cues. Reflect back to her her ethical strengths and reframe the context from her ethical perspective. Let's see how that approach might play out. As humans, we have 3 different sources of unethical behavior. We have our ethical blind spots, those places where we aren't aware. When we don't pay attention to either our sections or reasons for acting, we may slip into unethical behavior. Temptations come when we're under stress, deadlines, pressure for results that aren't there, wanting to look good or make someone happy, wanting more for ourselves than our fair share. Vices show up when people choose to act unethically. Many of us are uncomfortable thinking about our blind spots. We're even more uncomfortable coaching someone into ethical excellence when they're not aware of what they're doing. So let's look at the blind spots and possible antidotes for each ethical perspective to help us consider how best to coach Skye. If Skye's ethical home is the rights responsibilities lens, she might believe that because she's special, she should be excused from following rules that she doesn't like. The antidote for excuses is the virtue of prudence, reminding people that when they claim their rights as individuals, they also have to live into their responsibilities. Now, if Skye's ethical home is the results lens, she may claim expedience. Once her work was done, how she spent her time was her business. The antidote for expedience is the virtue of temperance, reminding Skye that she could temper her desire for more personal surfing time and give her employer a full day's work by improving her work product or asking for more responsibility. If Skye's ethical home is the relationship lens, she might feel that she is exempt from following the rules because they really don't apply to her. The antidote for those claiming exemption from the rules is the virtue of justice, reminding Skye that she is an employee just like everyone else. As a member of the community, following the rules that everyone else has to follow is only fair. And finally, if Skye's ethical home is the reputation lens, she might believe that she is entitled to do whatever she wants, given that her job is to work with social media. The antidote for entitlement is the virtue of courage, reminding Skye that to be a role model for others and live into her core values, she needs to excel at her job and not take the easy path as she makes courageous choices. As we reflect on the virtues that become the antidotes for ethical blind spots, notice that we expect Skye to be an adult and concerned about her ethical behavior. From the perspective of the rights and responsibilities lens, we focused on ideals and treated people as fully functioning adults. From the perspective of the results lens, we provided what makes people happy. We reminded ourselves and others that we have to accept the consequences of our choices and not expect to be rescued. From the perspective of the relationship lens, we talk to everyone who is involved and assure that our processes lead to justice. Finally, from the perspective of the reputation lens, we encouraged ourselves and others to seek ethical excellence in all that we say and do. Notice that the questions for ethical maturity raise more questions than answers. However, as we each learn to ask the important questions, become aware of ethical blind spots, and then pursue a life of virtue, we'll grow in ethical maturity and integrity.